Okay, this is my third time recording this now. I have less than ideal conditions. I have very limited time in which to do this because I'm going on a vacation very soon. Ugh. Okay, so I was wrong about Frontline 59 in a lot of ways. Allow me to explain. I don't believe I mentioned it in my Project Wingman review, but in response to several comments, I have publicly lamented the fact that Frontline 59 requires PSVR to play. This is absolutely not true, and I was completely wrong. You do not need PSVR to play Frontline 59. You just need a PlayStation 5. Why did I think this? I have no idea. Perhaps it was an effective marketing, emphasizing the VR functionality of the game. It also wasn't terribly clear that it was a standalone title, or if it was DLC. Obviously, I was very confused about that. It is actually DLC missions plus the base game of Project Wingman. I'm sure lots of other people have been confused about that before. Anyway, I played it. September is a very busy month for me. Here's a quick review. It's more Project Wingman. Roll credits. So, I had this entire section about the value of FL59 and how it didn't make sense that it was more expensive for 6 missions on PS5 than the entire base game on Steam, and how it isn't a great value and all that. And then I got to editing the video, and I noticed that there are 2 campaigns on the main menu. I boot up the game, I click on the first campaign, exactly what I expect to happen, happens. And now I feel like a dumbass, sitting here rewriting, re-recording all of this, which is to say, as far as you're concerned, you're getting Project Wingman, the base game, plus Frontline 59 for 30 freedom bucks. If you're on PS5, this is a good price point for 20-ish hours of air combat video game. Unfortunately, the FL59 portion is stuck on PlayStation, so the rest of us PC gamers are out of luck until we buy a PS5, which may be an interesting experience now with the PS5 Pro being outrageously expensive. That's kind of off topic, but back to the actual game. Frontline 59 is from the perspective of a Federation Reserve Squadron K9, and the player specifically is K9A Driver defending against the Cascadian invasion of Magadan, which is a real place in Russia, sort of. You know, it's interesting to me that as the player character, you're this unstoppable force, and here you're a totally unknown reservist. You don't even have a TAC name. It has to be made up on the spot as you're launching from the runway. I feel like there is a real opportunity here to create an underdog story, but Sector D2 doesn't really pull it off. It feels weird to hear your squadron and AWACS freaking out about the invasion, and here you are killing everything. Anyway, let's talk about the squad. You've got Bookie, because he's a bookie, that's why he chooses that name, and Cobb, because she's a fucking corn on the cob. Look, your squad mates are very forgettable. There's a new Wizzo waifu, IT, but she's just angry a lot and gets really nationalist for the feds in the last mission, which I guess is to be expected, but it doesn't make me like her very much. And the antagonist of the story, General Faust, is generally more memorable than any of the friendly characters, because mostly I had to listen to her dialogue over and over again, replaying missions, because, did I mention this game is somehow harder than Project Wingman? As if to pad out the game's already short runtime, each mission is dreadfully lengthy and difficult. I played on hard, and there were definitely some snags. There's a mission where you're defending against an amphibious landing, and it just takes so long to do, it's ridiculous. Enemies spawn out of thin air once you clear out the present set of bogeys, and just when you think you're at the end, here's a fleet for you to destroy. They're covered in SAMs. I hope you're above 50% health and not out of ammo. It is absolutely relentless, and I'm not entirely sure why. Honestly, it's not that bad in terms of difficulty for the most part, just the invasion landing, and the final mission really gave me trouble. The final mission in particular was so ridiculous with the reinforcements that I just couldn't push through in a reasonable amount of time. I had to turn the difficulty down to normal, and even then, it was a slog. I'm probably making it sound worse than it actually is, but if you're not a masochist, I really recommend playing on normal first, and then you can go back and play on hard and, I don't know, punch yourself in the dick. Finally, I have to mention the music because, of course, our man, Jose Pavli, has returned and made some bangers for this game. The big track that everybody loves, I think, is Red Line, which plays during the obligatory tunnel run mission. We'll listen to it for a moment. It's a momentous, driving force of a track that fits the mission perfectly. I do have to mention that something I really noticed with these new tracks is that Pavli uses a lot more brass, like trumpets, French horns, that type of instrument. There's still a lot of the signature percussion and deep synth tones that are present in Project Wingman's original soundtrack, but Frontline 59 feels like its own distinct entity. It's familiar, and yet it has its own character. Overall, if you're on PS5 and looking for a game similar to Ace Combat, I can safely say that FL59 is a decent purchase, now that I know you're also getting the full Project Wingman experience. I mean it when I say it's more Project Wingman. It's the same game, you're just getting new additional missions. If you want more details on the actual gameplay, I have a review of the base game on my channel that I'll try to insert a card here that you can click on if you want to see that. The story of FL59 is kind of meh and inconsequential, which makes it lose a bit of luster for those of us who have played PW before, but that's fine. It's more air combat goodness, and the soundtrack is pretty banger. And that's about all I have to say about Frontline 59. I hope you've enjoyed, I hope you've learned something. Please don't make my mistakes. You are getting the base game plus these new missions that are PS5 exclusive for some reason. Sony probably gave Sector D2 a lot of money. Consider subscribing if you like what I'm doing. I am planning more Ace Combat stuff in the future, among other games, because, like, the Ace Combat stuff gets a lot of views, but I like other things too. I'd really appreciate it if my not jet video game stuff got a little bit more love. Y'all let me know what you think about Frontline 59. Is it worth going out of your way, especially if you're a PC gamer, to play it? Is it worth paying $30 for the same game again, but on PlayStation? I feel like that's up for debate, and ultimately it's going to be up to yourself if you think that's a good value proposition or not. Alright, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.